So if you're ready, we could just get going.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask you, with everything going on this year, we've had some other guys come on as recently, uh, you know, alternate site, everything, going back and forth. What's it been like for you in terms of your experience this year thus far?
For me, it's been kind of crazy with being with Cincinnati and then picked up over here, and then was here, and then still wasn't really throwing right. Like I had some issues during spring training, so I got shut down, and still hasn't been right. So I'm kind of shut down again. So trying to figure out what's going on with my arm that's affecting my performance right now.
So are you going under different tests within the team, within the health people, whether it's trainers or whatnot, doing x-rays? I mean, what's it been like in terms of that, off the field? Or is it more of rehabbing just the arm, shutting down for a week and then, trying to stimulate the arm and come back in a week? What's it like for that?
I got an X-ray, I got an MRI. So now I've just been, working with the PT here, trying to get some range of motion back and strengthen the shoulder to see if that'll fix the issues. But I don't know how long I'll be without throwing or whatnot. But it's been probably 10, 12 days now so far. I haven't done anything but rehab.
Have you been able to go to the field and be with the team and everything, after physical therapy? What's it like in terms of, it seems like you're almost quarantined now, just in terms of not being allowed to see a lot of people and then not being able to play baseball. It's kind of, you're stuck in the middle of, what you can do and what you can't. So what can you do as of right now?
Over here, I'm in Jupiter, and it's pretty much, obviously they wanted to be smart, but as far as how it would be any other year, it's pretty much how it would be, other than you having to go in and do the testing. But you go to the field, get your work in. They have scrimmages and all that, but for me, I just go in, get my rehab, do some running, work out, and come back to the hotel. But there's not really restrictions on necessarily what you can or can't do. More just, be smart. Don't put yourself at risk.
What are you feeling in your arm? I know you mentioned, obviously, you're still trying to figure it out, but what was the feeling in your arm? Was there discomfort? Was something, pop when you threw one time? I mean, what kind of led to you seeing and, feeling that discomfort, which made you shut down?
Well, I know that, it started with the fact that I was throwing 88 and I usually throw 95. So that was the first thing. So I went in and I was like, hey, something's wrong. I'm throwing 88, 91, 92, and I'm usually 93, 97. Like, something's going on. And so, we did some tests and everything, and I just was very limited on range of motion. And if you would put me into like external rotation or internal rotation, I would have some discomfort being in those positions. So that's kind of what led to me being shut down, just the fact that I was so limited in motion and strength-wise when they would do strength tests on me.
Do you think it had to do with, obviously the shutting down of spring training and ramping back up? Do you think that's something where, you see a lot of guys, whether, trying to get back in the form and whatnot, during the simulated games leading up to the start of the season, do you think that, stop and start had an effect on your arm and the ability to, be at 100% come, August?
I don't really know, to be honest. Like, I want to say yes, but at the same time, I don't think so. Like, I was able to do, not how it would be in a normal off season, but I was able to do a lot during quarantine. Unless I would say it wasn't a normal throwing program for me, just because I was shut down during spring training and had a cortisone shot and stuff like that in my elbow. So, in that extent, it was a little bit different, but I felt like I was able to probably do as much or more than a lot of people with the situation I had. So I don't really know, to be honest with you, why it's being weird this year. Maybe it has something to do. I feel like there could be a lot of variables. I have no idea.
So I know
I thought that's what it was, and
yeah.
I kept throwing, and it kept just getting slower and slower. So that's when I was like, all right, something's going on.
And in terms of getting obviously the call with the Marlins to the big leagues for a part of this year, before the lingering injury that you're still unknown with. But what was that like? I mean, did you feel throughout the whole time? Obviously, you had a few good relief appearances before kind of your last two. So was it more of just did you never feel 100%? From the start when you were getting the call, in early August with the major league club, or was it just? I mean, just take me through the process. And when you didn't feel 100%, how did you try to, obviously you don't want to just say, oh, I can't throw. So how does that go with wanting to help the team, but also not wanting to hurt them if you're not 100%?
Yeah. I mean, I thought it, like you said, I thought it had to do with the fact that I hadn't thrown consistently, and I was just get back into games, and I thought the velo would come up. Like I think the first two I had a couple where I was touching 93, and I was like, okay, it's gonna keep going up now. Like it's slowly starting to come back. And I think that was like the first one or two, and then after that it started going down, and I couldn't throw the ball near the plate, and breaking balls weren't very sharp. Like it just my stuff started going the other way, kind of thing, and I mean it pretty much. I noticed it I guess I noticed it the first two outings because it still wasn't right. Like I felt like I was throwing hard, but it wasn't hard. So I guess I kind of know it there, but the results were, like you said, they were good. So I was just like, I'm just going to keep going with it. If I can ride it out, get through the season, do well, at least it'll put myself in a good position for next year, and I can regroup at that point. But then, like I said, it just started going the other way, and the velo started getting worse, and my stuff started getting worse, and then I cut those strikes, and then kind of came that conversation of, like, I want to be out there and throw, but at the same time, I'm hurting the team more than I'm helping them right now if I can't throw how I'm capable. And it was just battling to try to get through the clean inning at that point because I had no life on anything, and everything was just flat. It just wasn't myself of how I usually feel. So that was the conversation pretty much of like, hey, something's going on. Like, I don't know what it is, but something's going on.
For you too, this season, are you going to be, you think you're not going to throw for at least for the rest of the year with the big league club? Obviously, you have to get, picked up from the alternate side again, but do you think you'll be able to throw it all this year just in terms of that? I know you guys, especially the Marlins, are in a playoff push, first time in a while. So is there something where, you're going to try to get back this season, or you're just going to try to, with everything that happened in terms of not only baseball, but everything this year, kind of settle down, regroup like you mentioned for next season? I mean, what's it going to be like? Obviously, it's unknown. You can't say yes or no definitely, but what's your kind of feel with everything?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. Obviously, if we make a playoff push, I would like to, if I can be healthy and be myself, I would love to be a part of the team and try to help us win in the playoffs. Because I feel like if I'm myself, I can definitely help our bullpen out. But it's just hard to say. I haven't even picked up a ball yet. The more days you don't pick up a ball, the more days you got to go through a throwing program. So I have no idea, to be honest, of if that'll happen. I would love to be able to say yes, that I'd be ready by playoffs if we keep playing well and make it. But I don't exactly know either. Like I have no idea of what the plan is going to be.
So let's say though, obviously you're gonna have to go to a throwing program at some point, whether it's this year or next year. For you being a reliever, how many days do you think does it take? Even not only now, but every time you get hurt or nicked up a little bit, how long does it take for you to get ramped up personally? I know a lot of guys, sometimes takes 2 weeks, sometimes take 4, 6. I mean, what's something for you? How quickly can you ramp up, whether it's now or in spring training when you're trying to ramp up next year?
I don't know how it works with Miami, but the teams I've been with the past, however many days off you were from throwing is how many days your throwing program was going to be. So that's how It has been with the teams I've worked with the past. But as far as getting ready for a season, I usually just start. This last off season was a little bit different. I actually never took a break. I tried something different. But usually I don't pick up a ball till like November-ish, like mid-November. I'll start doing light throwing, and then slowly ramp up into November, January, and by the end of January, start throwing bullpens.
And for you, you mentioned being a hectic year in terms of finishing last year at Baltimore. Obviously, being the bulk of your major league career thus far in terms of the innings pitch, solid ERA, everything going. Then going to the Reds, and then going to Miami. What was this past year like in terms of getting to see the business side of baseball, and just in terms of your own experience with all the organizations that kind of picked you up, released, and got picked up again, obviously with the Marlins?
Yeah, the Toronto kind of came back as a surprise. I thought I would, after last year, be back with them. But then, Cincinnati picked me up, and I was pretty excited. I thought, with all the acquisitions they made, that they were going to have a great team, and I still think they'll make a push for the playoffs, even though they're not playing so well right now. They have a good team over there, and I really enjoyed the coaching staff over there, and I think I would have been able to help a lot over there had I been healthy and able to throw out up to my capabilities. I think they have a great thing going over there as far as the people in place and what they have for developing people. They have a lot of smart people over there, but obviously I wasn't healthy, and I didn't really put myself in a good position to make the team or to be even stay on the roster with not throwing at all and then still not being right once it came back. So I understood that side of it. Like, that kind of, wasn't a surprise. They needed roster spots. You had to make, roster moves to make room for everybody. And so I understood when that happened. And then, like I said, Miami picked me up, and I thought it was going to be a great opportunity as well, because I thought I was slowly getting back to normal, I thought, by the end of Cincinnati. And then it just started going the other way once I started getting more and more outings.
And for you, being with the Marlins, obviously, not making, a lot of playoff pushes as of recently, that's something that, just on paper you can tell. But for you guys, a lot of young guys, a lot of different pieces in terms of, different guys from different organizations almost coming together this year and, for next year, in terms of, the kind of talent there. Having a good season thus far. I mean, what's it like being with the Marlins organization, and how are you guys, feeding off of each other, even at the alternate site, with the newfound success that you guys have been having this year?
Yeah, I mean, they have some pretty great up and coming talent here. As you can see, all of them are getting filtered up. They got a lot of good prospects here that are, big league ready and are making impacts at that level. As you can see, to be able to get someone like Marte off of trades, if you don't have those kind of arms, you don't get that kind of guy.
Yeah.
So, they got those guys, and we joke around as the replacement players. Like those. To an extent, we had nothing to lose. We came in, just trying to have fun. Like you said, we had nothing to lose. At that point, we didn't have a big league job, most of us, at that point, if any of us. And so, just going out, trying to have fun and win games, because at some point, the guys that had COVID are going to come back, and at that point, you're just trying to make it as hard as you can on the front office to decide what they want to do. But at least, if anything, you're performing for other teams, because as you can see this year, everyone needs people.
And like you said, being the quote unquote, replacement players, once that news obviously hit, but more than a dozen guys, going down, what was the process like for you to get picked up? Was it something that, did they call your agent? Did they call you, just in terms of being game day ready? And then from there, I mean, what was the process in terms of, not only baseball, but having to know, the safe and healthy kind of stuff in terms of trying to stay safe and also get to Miami as quickly as you could?
Yeah. So for me, it was just I had gone on waivers right when all that happened, so Miami just claimed me off waivers, and then pretty much called me, put me on a flight the next day to Baltimore, and then that's where it kind of just we didn't play for however many days. So then I got flown to Jupiter to be at the alternate site. The alternate site was on lockdown as well. So pretty much for the first like 4, 5, 6 days, I didn't do anything. I just was here in Jupiter, sitting at the hotel, go in, test, come back to the hotel. We weren't allowed to do anything. And then I had a bullpen. Once it finally opened up, I had one bullpen, and then was on a flight back to Baltimore.
And in terms of being with the Blue Jays, obviously 2 years of good success in the majors. What were you trying to build off of coming into this year? I know you mentioned it was kind of shocking to you getting that call from the Blue Jays that you were being released. But what was that process like? I mean, what do you think you've been looking to improve on, just in terms of having that success at the highest stage? I mean, I don't really know like what your process was going through that, and going from there. It's not like you were having a bad season and they decided that. It was kind of an awkward decision that they made. So what was that like for you in terms of trying to mentally get back into it and improve on things after the success you had?
Well, with you, after it happened, I was optimistic that a team would take me. I didn't think that I would go through clear waivers and be a free agent, which happened with Cincinnati taking me. But I mean, more than anything, it's just kind of the story of how my career has been for the most part. Is I just gotta stop walking guys. Like even last year, I had good numbers, but they would have been significantly better had I walked as many people I did. Like I've been walking guys in the big leagues. I don't know if it's just getting comfortable or what, because in AAA I wasn't walking guys. But up here I've been walking too many guys, so that was kind of the thing I needed to get better at, was just being in the zone and getting outs in the zone and doing how I had in AAA, because in AAA I didn't walk guys.
Before I ask you too about kind of how you've been dealing with the walks, I wanted to ask you, mentioning being a free agent. That's kind of an interesting thing. Obviously, you don't have a job at that point, but it's kind of cool to just, I guess, see, at least from an outside perspective, who's calling. I mean, how many other teams were there out there for you? How many teams were you considering, once you kind of put them all together? Maybe it was one, maybe it was a few, and, what kind of stuck out with the Reds if there was a decision to be made?
Oh, I didn't have a decision. I never made it to free agency.
Oh, they
claimed me off. Yeah, they picked me up off waivers, so I went straight to their 40 man. I didn't. It was just they picked me up and I was with them. I didn't have. You don't have any choice if you get claimed.
And you mentioned the walks. Are you looking into a lot of guys now that I talk to with problems or even not problems with certain stuff with their mechanics or whatnot, using the new technology, using spin rate, video mechanics? Is that something you've looked into, or are you somebody who doesn't really look at that stuff, just kind of goes with how your body's feeling? I mean, what's something that you've been looking to improve on from that aspect of your game?
I mean, the spin rate and everything I got it big into last year. Kind of last year was my first year pitching completely different with all 4 seams instead of 2 seams. But I mean, I feel like everyone's always looking to improve their mechanics. Anything. The people that stay in the big leagues are the ones that can be consistent. So, to that extent, you're always trying to improve. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess I haven't figured out technically what is going to keep me in the zone consistently. I think it's just me believing in my stuff to an extent and just doing what I do at AAA. Because, like I said, I didn't walk a lot of guys when I was in AAA. But obviously, everyone's hoping for that one thing to finally click that always keeps you in the zone and just all of a sudden changes your career. And that would be nice. But I at some point you just throw strikes. Like it's that simple. Throw strikes. And I gotta be better at that.
Was it something for you that when you got called up to the big leagues, the mental kind of, game and yourself saying, trying to believe in yourself and at the same time trying to get out, did that kind of collide for you? I mean, what was the process like, once you got the call up? It doesn't, obviously show in the numbers outside of the walks that maybe that was a problem, just not believing in yourself. But what was the mental part of the game like once you got to the highest level and you were facing all these guys that obviously are all known and, not guys in the minors who you might not have heard of?
I mean, I think the difference is, I think, one, people try to be too fine whenever it comes to the big leagues. You try to just hit corners and you get behind in counts, and the difference between the big leagues and lower and minor leagues is when you get to those counts, those guys do damage. You got to be able to throw anything in any count at the big league. You can't just get away throwing heaters. I think another difference for me is I went from being a closer in AAA, so you do, when you're throwing, I knew if we were up 1-3, I was going to be in the game. If not, I wouldn't be throwing. Like, it's very easily to mentally get locked in and prepare for that one outing. Plus, I just feel like when you're throwing in that situation, I don't know what it is about our bodies, but I feel like you become even more locked in because you don't have no room for error. You just have to go right at guys because you can't afford to let people on base. And I feel like I try to do that same process no matter when I'm throwing, but it's just something about it. Like, you hear guys that have been closers in the big leagues their whole career, like Giles not last year, but the year before, whenever his numbers were like ridiculous when he was a safe situation, but then he became in a non-safe situation, they weren't as good. So it's just, I think that's a big difference as well, just because there's something about our bodies that just, when you're in those situations, everything just locks in even more. And I also think it's the hitters too. The hitters, it knows their last at bat, they got to score 2 or 3 runs, so they get a little bit more aggressive as well, or maybe even a little more patient. So those mistake pitches that you make, maybe they're a little more tense, and they miss them. They're a hair late, they're getting tense, or maybe they swing outside the zone a little bit more because they're trying to do too much to get on base. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things, but it's something that obviously I need to get better at because that's what I'm throwing. I'm not throwing the ninth in the big leagues, so I need to get better at being able to throw strikes in other innings.
Last serious question for you. I wanted to ask you, I know you mentioned going from the 2 to 4 seam full time. What else is in your repertoire, and what are kind of some of the things? Obviously, being a reliever, when you look at a starter, having another guy on the other day from the Reds talking about, going from a starter to a reliever, you don't have to have as many pitches in your repertoire to, get guys out. What are kind of your 2 to 3 pitches that you really hone in on as a reliever, and what's kind of your go-to in a tough situation?
So last year I was 4-seam, cutter, slider, and an occasional split. This year I was 4 seams, still the slider, and I worked on developing a curveball this offseason. So those were my 3 this year. And I mean, my slider is my out pitch as far as trying to get swing and miss, but usually my heaters would, I feel like confident to throw in any count, which I need to get better at for my slider. Like I said, you got to be able to throw a slider in any count in the big leagues, and I think that's when people have success. If you can, the hitters don't know what's coming in those counts, because a lot of guys will gear up for fastballs and 3-1 or 2-0. So my slider and fastball would be my 2 out pitches. The curveball I think could end up being good, but until I'm healthy and throwing it how I feel like it'd actually be capable, I'm not exactly sure what it can be. I had some games where it was really good, and then as the stuff went down, I started not being able to even get it near the plate. It wasn't even a pitch that people would even consider swinging at because I wasn't even able to reach the plate with it. Um, but yeah, I mean, if I have to pick two, it's going to be fastball, slider. Those are the two that if I'm going well,
Yeah.
those two pitches are working.
For you, I wanted to ask you a few, just quick little wrap up questions, just personal for you. First one I wanted to ask you is, what is your favorite ballpark to play at in the majors?
Favorite ballpark? Ooh, that's tough. Yankees is pretty cool. That'll always be special to me because that was where I debuted. And obviously, it's one of the nicest facilities you can go to. But outside of that, I really liked. I like Colorado's a lot. The setup there with the waterfall in the outfield, and so if I had to go outside of New York, I'd probably say either Colorado or Dodgers. I like just how the stadium for Dodgers isn't necessarily nice. It's old, but it's just something about it.
For you mentioning the debut, in New York at Yankee Stadium, what was that like for you? Can you just take us through, a quick little, what you were thinking that day and once you got the call? I mean, going into Yankee Stadium for your, big league debut, I mean, that's kind of, just thrown right into it. What was that like for you?
I was exhausted, no sleep, had a 5 or 6 a.m. flight from Georgia to get to New York. Walked in, didn't have a locker. They hadn't even announced who they were going to get rid of for me to be on the roster, so I'm just sitting there waiting. And an hour before the game, they finally say, all right, you're activated. I go out, play catch, and about the 4th inning or 5th inning, we were down like 10-1. So I was in the game, and I was facing guys that I had faced since A-ball with Glaber and Andujar. So that was kind of nice. I already knew how to throw them because I had faced them all the way coming up, rather than it be guys that I had no clue. Yeah, that was pretty much how it went. I didn't really have much time to think. All of a sudden, we were down 10-1, and I was in the game.
For you who thus far has been the hardest hitter to face in your experience?
Oof, man. I only faced him once, but Arenado was a tough out. I didn't get him out, but Arenado was tough. He hit a home run off me. Trout was tough. I mean, the guys that I faced a lot, I felt like the more I faced them, the more I was able to adjust and get them out, Those guys I only faced once, so it's hard to really say. Like Arenado, I faced once, he hit a home run off me, so obviously he sticks out in my mind of being a tough out. And then Trout, I felt like I just made some good pitches too, and he barreled up. But I mean, there's a ton of hitters like Mookie, obviously a great hitter. When I faced him with Boston, when he was with Boston. But my first thought is whenever they said people would come up as Arenado, because I thought I could get away with a pitch that I hadn't shown him yet, and he still hit a home run off of it.
For you, what's your favorite part about the MLB, lifestyle, so to speak, when you're with the team, either on the road or, at home?
The food's better and the travel's better, obviously, than minor leagues. People say the lifestyle of any baseball league is not fun. The travel, the waking up, flights getting in at 4 or 5 a.m. It doesn't matter. Even though you're on a plane, it still sucks, the travel part. But just, you have more amenities, I guess. Like, you're just better taken care of in the big leagues. And even though the travel and the lifestyle per se sucks, but it's just nice to play in front of big crowds, and have nice facilities. You're never going to go to a place and be like, this place is terrible, kind of thing.
For you, second to last question I wanted to ask you. For you, has there been a fan experience that stuck out to you, that you've experienced in your time, either in the big leagues or minor leagues, just in terms of something that, unique?
The one that I think I'm blanking on his name now that I'm saying this, but we were at Syracuse and there was a bunch of college kids that came to the game one night, and they had me sign $1 or something, and I signed that. And during quarantine, I feel like a lot of people were making these podcasts, so he made a podcast and he actually remembered me. So like they were giving us a hard time during the game, and we were joking back and forth with them during the game, and then kind of then he did a podcast, and I was like I think one of the first ones he ever did. So kind of full circle of those guys giving us a hard time in the bullpen, and then having us sign weird things, and then now he's made a podcast.
For you, final question I wanted to ask you is, what's something that people outside of just you, when people obviously hear your name, they think baseball. What's something outside of baseball that people don't know about you but should?
Outside of baseball, man, this is a tough question. Oh man.
I mean, a hobby, just something you like to do.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm just like pretty easygoing. Like, I like to golf. I like to be just for me, we work so hard, and during the season and even in the off season, that when I have spare time, I just like to chill. Like my fiance will want to do stuff, and I'm just like, I'm cool with just sitting in the bed or sitting on the couch and watching TV. Like I feel like we do so much that I'm very content with doing nothing. So I feel like I'm very like simple in that extent. I do like to golf. I love football. I guess that's something like I really love football. I played football in high school, had the option to do both, but ultimately chose baseball. But yeah.
For you, I just wanted to ask you real quick, now that you brought that up, what was kind of the college that you could have went and played both for?
There were a few: UCF, USF, FAU.
Awesome.
I had more offers in football than I did baseball.
Oh, okay.
But a lot of the schools that I would have went to for football wouldn't let me play baseball too, being a quarterback. So I was just like, I didn't want to go to a school that was average at both or good at one and not good at the other. If they were good at one, I would prefer them. I wanted them to be good at football, and they could be okay, like bad at baseball, because I didn't want to die in football.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I was like, if they're going to be good at something, I'd prefer them to be good at baseball, because I wanted at football, because like I need good linemen to protect me. I don't want to be at FAU playing Clemson or somebody in football and just getting crushed.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Justin, obviously, for coming on, taking the time. Wish you all the best for the rest of this year and next year, and just good luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.